time, that T1 comp is supposed to scale like around maybe second, maybe third Drake. But if you have a 3-in-1 Trundle with a Yumi like 10 minutes into the game, good luck.
Enquanto isso eu vou comer aqui, se me dão licença. They didn't have enough queijo aqui, servidos.
Let's jump into our second highlight here, and Chronicle, you can take us through. As we actually kind of thought Damonki had a pretty good position here, and then the wall.
Yeah, the wall and Showmaker just dying. We are not gonna even watch that because it's just kind of sad. I'd rather wish we didn't, because it was not a good individual game from Showmaker, unfortunately. And overall, I think individually, Damon bot lane was fine, adequate but not great. Kenyon was serviceable. Birdle and Showmaker both having pretty bad games. And then add that to the draft, and this game was effectively over this point. There were a couple more fights. You know, I think T1, like, if you really want to be super, maybe they didn't have to die that once. Maybe they could. This didn't matter. From that point onward, they were hugely favored in the game. Played it out cleanly, pushed their leads very well, as T1 has done, especially in spring, but even in summer, we've seen a lot of this, and just kind of won the game. Yeah, there's not much more to say about it, unfortunately. And I hope it changes on blue side.
Not really. It's just, you know, DK, what do they have up their sleeve on blue side? It really feels like blue side is really the advantageous position to be in. And it really just depends, like, what are DK going to prioritize? We've seen that early Renekton, but do they shift it and try and match some of the scaling at T1? That's something to look out for moving into this series.
Yeah, and I was preparing myself for the B1 Renekton. We didn't get the B1 Renekton, we got the R1 Renekton instead. That went for the loss. How do we feel about this extraordinarily high Renekton priority that we do have? We sort of do need to address.
Yeah, I think the champion's overhated. I don't think you should be giving up Yumi, or you should be giving up Azir. But at the same time, we have seen teams, when they play better, do well. Even at 0-0 and 9 Renekton, the Dove pilot, yes, they were still zoning people out of team fights later, so I can see the value.
Yeah, and so we are going to jump straight into our POG. Let's see who picks it up on the top side of the map. It will be
Logo POG, beleza, tá. Esperado. Agora eu vou falar um pouco do que eu previ no próximo jogo aqui. Tá, fala primeiro do jogo 1 antes, né? Pra quem não viu ainda, deve ter visto, mas enfim, só pra relembrar. T1 baniu Lucian, Renata e Kalista porque a bot lane da DK costuma jogar uma bot lane mais early game. Não está tão forte, esse não é muito o que o meta tá sugerindo, mas não quer dizer que não funciona. Beleza. A DK baniu Ahri e Galio porque Ahri tá forte e o Galio do Faker tá diferente também, tá bem forte também. O Faker é um dos poucos que tá jogando de Galio ultimamente, pelo menos no Coreia. E Nautilus, beleza, tá. Nautilus não é tão um dos melhores, mas ok. Nossa, 3/3 forte. Então, aí a T1 pegou o Yumi, que é um dos suportes mais prior que tem agora. O pick mais prior, o pick não é nem suporte. First Second eles desenvolveram Renekton ou Kong, que são counters de Yumi, os dois. Mas o Kong tá forte, mas Renekton é muito forte contra Yumi, nem fez boa e tal. Second e Third se vira Azir. Então eles têm um late game muito forte já. Thalia, como, não é como resposta de Azir, mas é forte no geral, né? E tem que pegar algum mid laner aqui, porque senão eles vão banir muito mid laner. Ou, e, tipo, já pegou Azir, entendeu? Não precisa mostrar muito pick aqui. Eles baniram o Gwen, que Gwen é forte como Ban 2 mesmo. E vai porque... Por quê? Tipo,
Blue side here is going to be where we find out if Damwon Kia can
que eles tiraram Alistar, então eu esqueci de falar, eu ia prever que a DK ia pegar Blue side agora, porque também Blue side tá forte, e acabaram de tomar um pá na red side, então, entendeu? Baniram o Ornn, porque o Ornn é um shape... Não, eles picaram o Ornn, quer dizer, falei errado, que é muito forte contra Renek. E Trundle, porque tava muito bom nessa situação aqui, tem Renekton e o Kong, então você roubar os caras aí, entendeu? Eu esqueci de falar, eles picaram Senna, e depois devolveram o Yasuo, ok. A DK jogou bem early game nessa partida aqui, e nem clicaram. O que eu prevejo no jogo 2? A DK ainda jogando com uma bot lane agressiva no começo, mas eles não vão ter que banir Ahri dessa vez. Eles provavelmente vão ter Azir pra picar também, porque a T1 não vai banir Azir, acho difícil. Ou eles banem Ahri também, a DK pode banir Ahri também.
immediately alarm bells are going off in my head.
Yeah. Now, if they can get control of the bottom side waves with the Renekton too, I won't hate it as much, but...
Soletri.
Because I think Renekton is very strong in this meta, but if you can win everywhere
eu acho que
else
os bans
too,
tem
or
uma
at
mulher
least
muito.
not
Eu acho que vai
lose
ser
really
Renata
hard,
e
you can put
Kalista
all your eggs
Bank.
in the Renekton basket as
E
well.
Yumi, talvez.
Yeah. Saber also banned, I think
Gwen?
this is really smart
Já
from
baniram
T1,
Gwen? Loucos.
saying, okay, well, Yumi
Eles não pegam
also
Gwen nem ferrando de
open.
first,
If you guys
mano.
first pick Renekton, we'll take Yumi,
Até vai
Zeri,
devolver
and you guys will
Narc,
not have the
provavelmente.
Saber response. So I think T1's drafting this series has been, they're leading, and Damwon are following.
Acho que vai vir Lucian aqui, porque o Lucianami da DK é muito bom, mano.
And this can be an issue. Let's see what this final ban does end up being here. You can see that Sivir ban, Damwon's like, oh, they know the plan.
Não,
the
tipo, tá.
Nautilus once again.
Azir tá open, então vai vir um Azir
yeah.
de Showmaker provavelmente. Vou matar ele de novo. Mas o first pick aqui vai ser Yumi, eu acho. Eu não sei se o Kellen joga, mas...
It has to be Yumi. If it's Renekton,
Precisa
we
ser
are
Yumi aqui, mano.
seriously
Se não for Yumi aqui, ela...
concerned. Not because Renekton is weak, but because of what they have given in exchange.
I'm not surprised, I'm just disappointed.
Yeah.
Eu tô ouvindo aqui os caras. Os caras falam que não estão surpresos, mas estão desapontados.
With Lucian and Sivir banned, and
Aqui vai vir,
Duckdom
mano,
hasn't looked
Zeri Yumi aqui,
fantastic
não é?
on the Draven pick.
A Kali Loucos? Kalista Loucos?
I
A
mean,
Kali
Kalista
Loucos?
is also
Meu
open,
Deus.
which is crazy, but...
É.
I mean, if you pick Kalista here, you're just saying, like, I dare you to play the Yumi lane. We're going to play hard on the bottom side.
Ah, tá,
and
beleza. Tá.
if
Se
you
você
do
pica
want to play
Kalista, a Yumi também toma um palo
Yumi
ele fez, né?
and Zeri, we are going to crush you in the
Não, não é
2v2,
Mastery,
and it
Mastery
won't matter
sempre
what the
dá
Renekton
roubo de
lane on the
zoeira.
top side
Pantheon?
is going towards.
Não, que Pantheon, cara.
Yeah, there's a lot of funny hovers here, but it will absolutely not be those picks.
Second, third.
Kalista Wukong, strong setup here
É ruim de
for
jogar
early
de
game
Yumi
dominance
agora,
on the
né?
bottom side.
Concordo.
Yeah. I'm a little bit surprised they
Eu acho
didn't
que
go
vai
for
vir
the
aqui, mano.
Muzeri.
Não é possível
Just
ver
in
um
terms
Azir
of
aqui, cara.
pure
Não é
power,
possível.
I know there is stuff that
Deixa o
can
Azir pro Faker,
potentially
o cara
be
vai fazer
picked
estrago,
to try
cara.
to
Você
win
não
the lane,
viu
try
ele
to get them
jogando
very far behind.
de
They're
Faker,
willing
não?
to play the
Faker jogando de
Draven.
Azir, não. O Azir jogando de Faker.
So there's that as well.
Yeah.
Ok,
I thought we might be going down a
Draven não pode deixar
different
pra ter
path
alguma
here for
Yushi.
Dom1 Kia, but they are going to
Embora
fight
tenha
fire
uma
with
já pegou
fire.
Kalista, na real, né? Mas
And I
Draven...
think this is
Eu acho que
bold,
o
but
único
also
AD Carry
smart
que
from Dom1.
pode
If they
bater
can
de
pull
frente
it
com a
off, of
Kalista em
course,
questão de lane phase,
and
mano.
will
Tá, eu acho
mitigate
que é
some
um
of the pressure
bom
from that
pick
Kalista
aqui.
lane bottom side.
E se não
It's
picar
also
agora,
something
eles
they
vão
haven't
banir,
looked
né?
fantastic at in the past.
Ok,
This
não
Braum
esperava
is
um
great
suporte
because
aqui,
it's
mas
also
beleza.
somewhat of a
Third.
Ornn deterrent.
Azir.
We know the
Não?
Amumu is coming here in the
Oh,
support
quero
slot.
de
No
Amumu,
shocker
nunca
there
vi,
with
mano.
Renata being banned.
Beleza. Nossa,
I think
então
Dom1 Kia is showing a lot of
diferente que os
confidence
picks
in this
de
draft,
banda,
and that's one thing I could definitely
Inclusive,
say
ele
about their
aqui.
start here. We'll
Vou
see
Thalia,
the
lógico, que eles
Showmaker
pegaram
Talia
Thalia. Eu ia
taken
falar
off the
Thalia
board
mesmo.
from T1.
Se eu
No, my
agora
point
não
we
banir
made
Azir.
earlier in the points of the match
Não
about
banirem
Khaleesi
Azir,
in
eles
his
estão pedindo
late
pra
game,
perder, mano.
he hasn't looked amazing unless he's very far
Se
ahead.
ele não banir
The
Azir, eles
Zeri
estão pedindo
Yumi
pra
into
perder.
Draven that
Sério.
Canyon could have picked up here would mean that one small mistake
eu
from
acho que eles
Guma
vão banir
means that the game
Lee
has
Sin
to go down that late game
Até
Zeri
no
route,
caso, né?
and T1 haven't looked as comfortable on that late game carry, so I think that may be
E
one reason why they do
aqui,
end up
ah
banning
tá,
Kalista.
Kalista's
Aí
great
já
in her own
é
right.
muito respeito com os
Obviously
mais
going to be a
velhos.
very dominant lane. The Azir ban, not a surprise. The Ahri
que o banda
already
DK vai
taken away from
ser-
Faker. The next on the
Bantano,
mid-tier
inteligente,
list
tá.
is Silas.
É que vai vir um ban...
Obviously, the Talia also taken away here from Showmaker, so maybe we see something a little bit different in this
Yone.
mid lane.
LeBlanc still open. I think
Não,
could
Faker
be a
vai pegar
ban to
LeBlanc,
consider
não,
here
tá
for
maluco.
Dom1 Kia
Ah,
if
se
they
bem que
want to take
pode
that
ser,
one away
né?
from
Tem que banir
Faker.
dois mid aqui.
We don't know what the matchup's going to be just yet, but something that we did see
Mas eu acho que eles vão
in
deixar o
the
último ban
playoffs
pro
early
mid.
on was
o último
Corki,
pick
who made a
pro mid,
return. I don't think that really suits either of these compositions very well, especially with the Trundle being banned
Dúvida
here.
não, já foi
The
Renekton,
Aatrox
eles
ban I
vão ter
like
que
a lot
deixar.
more because this is
Então vai vir
essentially
Ornn aqui.
saying we're
Pede
going to win
rolar o Ornn lá.
Renekton top side here,
Só
and
Ornn
the
de
bot
novo.
lane's going to be more stable for us as Dom1. Don't want to give you guys the ability to actually duel out against a Renekton and win those
Forte,
mid-game
hein?
fights with
Esses
this
ainda pode ser
Kalista.
top, mas
Want to
eu
weaken your
duvido.
power there. The
Tem que
Azir
jogar
ban,
muito
a
esses.
similar vein. But this does mean Silas comes through. There's no Trundle on the other side. The Trundle was banned away, so I think a smart move from T1. No,
Pop. Pop tá
no
muito
way
bom
to
também,
really
verdade. Mas eu achei que ia
duel
vir
around
esse
first
aqui,
objective very well right now in Dom1's comp against
Trundle.
this. Unless they can find another way to get mid prio.
Mas Pop cai muito bem aqui, mano.
And I
Counter
do wonder what that's
só
going to be
tudo lá.
for Showmaker here. We've seen the Lissandra work very well for him this season. We've seen Victor into the Silas. Very middling success. This is the big question mark right now.
Mas o Lissandra
Danny's
tá muito
got
bom
something
mesmo.
to say about that.
Não sei
Let's see what he has to say, because Showmaker has not said anything just yet.
Ele não joga de nada.
This is not an easy decision. The LeBlanc can be pretty good into the Sylas. And it looks like that is what
não é
will
o
be
melhor
selected.
champ aqui, não.
A lot of
O melhor champ não, champ
backline
ruim
access
aqui,
is normally what you grab LeBlanc for, but T1's composition just in general has very high resistances. Oh, it's the old Quinn
eu não
response
achei
to
porque
Renekton
Soleta, eu não
to
sei,
be
não entendi
hovered
porque
here.
eles
This
pegaram
would be
top
very
primeiro aqui,
interesting. It would allow T1 to have two late game
não.
threats in terms of 80 range damage, but I like the
É que
Gnar
assim,
here much more.
eles não podem
I think
deixar
as
Silas na
Damwon,
mão do Showmaker também,
You want to
mas
win these fights
eu tinha quase
early
certeza
with
que ia vir Gnar
LeBlanc,
aqui,
trying to
e aí
not
você pica
necessarily
com counter de
blow the
Silas, não sei
backline
se
up, but actually
existe
just
counter de
add that
Silas, mas
extra
entendeu?
chain
Algum
CC.
champ bom ali que
Maybe
você sabe
threaten
que dá pra
Gnar,
responder
prevent him
Silas
from
e o
getting
resto, entendeu?
the Gnar bar
Eu
up,
acho que ia
stuff
ser
like that, but
interessante, mano.
otherwise this LeBlanc pick
Se, por
isn't
exemplo,
threatening
eles
much. Like,
eles
Kalista
pegam
is
o
very
Nar, que eles
survivable,
iam pegar aqui, já.
and Sylas is
Eles
very
pegam o Nar,
survivable. Wukong,
aí vai
not that
vir
squishy.
LeBlanc e...
So I think really is going to be about the laning phase.
Vai
Can
vir
Damwon
LeBlanc
Kia
ou
get ahead?
Pop,
Can
ou
they get
Silas
those
Pop,
early
provavelmente
objectives
ia vir
under their
Silas
control?
Pop,
Can they buy a lot of time
e
that
aí
way?
você
Get a
dá
cash
um
in
counter
early
de
for this
Silas.
Draven and accelerate the game in
Eu
their
não
favor.
sei se é counter,
If not, once again,
mas
I
uma Orianna aqui eu
definitely
tenho
have to
certeza que
throw
ia
my
cair
hat
muito
into
bem
the
aqui, mano.
T1
A
ring in
Orianna não
terms
tá
of
tão
who I
bem no
think has
meta,
the better draft here.
mas uma Orianna
Just like game
versus
one,
o
Damwon
time
have a
deles ali,
different
eu acho que ele ia cair
approach to how
muito
they
bem,
want to
viu?
handle this
Diga-se de
meta,
passagem.
but it's high risk, and
concorda
the
aí com o
coordination
Cloud?
and the execution has to be
Eu concordo com
very good and much better than
Eu
it
vou
was in
voltar
game
comigo
one.
aqui.
I do think that Damwon, at least, if they get a snowball rolling, it can be very annoying to deal with this, right? Renekton on one item, you've got LeBlanc on one item,
Já tá até
Draven
frio,
on a couple.
Também tá
From ahead,
2
there's a
graus
lot of
negativo,
ways to
mano.
just be extremely annoying. The LeBlanc poke with the Draven we've seen before as well. Just looking for executes even before a game or a fight even really begins. So that can definitely happen. The side of T1, definitely a bit more all-in outside of boomerangs, you know, or Sylas stealing an ultimate or something like that.
Yeah, that's definitely true. On T1, though, they're basically fighting fire with this draft, and if they win, their comp snowballs, I think, even harder. So this is my biggest fear for Damwon Kia is T1 actually winning those early skirmishes, getting a lead, and just like in game one, taking control of the whole map.
Could definitely happen. That is what happened in game number 1. So let's see if T1 can do it again here as we hop onto the Rift for game 2.
Eu esqueci de falar. Era o Warren
Remember Valdez?
ou o Nar que eu tava
Well,
pensando.
we don't have time to remember.
No remembering! Baker's getting in there. This is a fantastic composition to invade with, and they're looking for Bertle. Not really having much. Baker's tanking turret as well, looking for an angle, but not going to
Faker tá
amount
de
to
first
anything
strike.
outside of Bertle's flash, which is going to be very
Meu
nice.
Deus do céu, mano.
Yeah, Damwon Kia were like looking at.
Não é possível que ele, não,
Showmaker,
ele
like,
esqueceu de
feeling
trocar a
lucky.
runa,
You
mano.
think
Não é
you can find
possível.
them?
Ele esqueceu de trocar a runa,
Not
certeza.
going to be able to commit.
Ditado,
This will
mano.
mean Damwon get vision around both jungle starts here for
Oh,
owner.
desculpa,
And
esqueci, né?
if he had decided to
Loucos
start
Kia
blue here,
versus
would
time
find
1.
himself in a miserable
Começou.
position. He is not, of course,
A
going to be
Loucos
doing
Kia
that.
vem de Burden
Damwon
ou
will
Burden.
try to potentially set
Canyon
up a
LOL
3
não dá
buff
pra zoar esse.
for the
Shoemaker
Poppy
fazedor
here
de sapato.
into the
Doc
Wukong
dançou
early.
letre.
And they see
E
him,
Kellen,
pings come
eu não sei
down
como que zoou
instantly.
esse cara. Não é que não
Guma
tem
just
como,
going
eu
to come over
só não
and try
sei.
to check this.
Bom check do teu como aí.
Yeah.
Oh, not really that much CC in this
Essa
comp
ward foi ruim.
at level 1, so
Faz sentido uma ward
it's
dessa.
fine.
Só faz sentido
Just
pra
gonna be Canyon
ver
picking
se
this
ele
one
usa o
up.
sapo, né? Mas
Oh,
aí se
good
fosse pra guardar assim,
information
o Canyon
for
viu,
T1
então tinha que
at
guardar um
least.
pouco mais longe.
Well, I was going to
se
ask
fosse
you
só
if
pra
you
saber se ele
remember,
vai
which
sapo.
I know you do. It was a rhetorical
Tudo
question I
bem.
was going to ask. Remember when it was quirky as year at the beginning of the season?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
This
Ele é
is the
vingante
exact
já, ó.
opposite of that. Is fight all the time, fight aggressively. Every lane is supposed to win on both teams. Speaking of, we're like still fighting potentially here.
Ih,
Yeah, so level 2 here. Looks
X1.
like Owner pretty confident to take
Owner
this with
ganhou,
the red buff.
obviamente.
But
Mas
phase
a Pop
rush
só
is
sai
going to be
correndo.
very nice
Beleza.
for Poppy to just say no to that fight.
And T1's gamble
o jungle
on the level
creators
1's
deles
nearly
estão,
leading
tá
to
igual.
a kill on a
se for
Bertle,
ver.
grab his flash,
Eles só
which
vão
is
ter
quite
info
significant.
de
But
cada
right now, Canyon, the biggest recipient,
E info de
biggest
cada é
winner
melhor pra quem,
of this exchange at the moment.
pra
Bottom
quem
side
tem
proud
a
here,
lane fez
level 2
melhor.
hit
Então
first
a
for Dr.
TK sai na
Kellen.
frente
It's a
nessa,
very
porque a
annoying
lane
lane to play out now is
deles
Guma.
tira do top lane, mas
Obviously,
o top
once he
side tá
hits
muito
level
longe
2,
dos junglers. Então,
Still a little bit more
qualquer
power there,
jeito
but level
vai
1 is where you
mandar
want.
pra eles. Então pro Faker
And Sylas nowadays,
pro
the
Guma
laning
Keria,
phase is...
isso é
It
muito
was
ruim.
never really where he looked for his power. Unless you're in like solo queue or something
Essa
like
lane no
that,
mid é um inferno também no
potentially,
começo.
but even then.
Só no começo,
Faker
porque
is
o
going to
late
be
game é
poked out just a
muito...
bit, and Showmaker has
Diz
a
o
hefty amount
Mr.
of LeBlanc
Bob
games under his
melhor
belt as
do
well.
QNA.
Not quite the
Essa
number that
lane é uma
Faker
das
has,
piores que
but
tem. Quanto
still
mais
30
cálculos
games of experience in the LCK alone.
Owner's going to come up here and potentially try to punish this extra prio setup that Showmaker's looking for. I mean, he's damaging the
Faker vai
turret
tentar
plate,
baitar o W do
but he's
Showmaker.
vulnerable.
Não vai ter como.
Faker definitely trying to sell it here a bit, but no distortion does come in. And so Showmaker's totally fine.
Yep, doesn't commit to the distortion, so only easy. And there's unfortunately no follow-up CC from Faker there or Owner with level 6.
Dá pau, né, em tudo.
So,
Tem que falar,
not a successful gank, but it does relieve some of the pressure, allows Faker to back here.
E o Owner da counter.
Canyon's coming over one more time. Does not actually commit to his blue buff here, wants to set up for a potential dive. Or catch a Wukong coming over here to set up defensively.
Disputou.
I think they did spot Canyon coming in here, as Canyon will be spotted now, and they're just going to engage onto him as in comes the rest of the team, but immediately you're already so deep in here, and Duckdom takes 2 turret shots. Carrier will not even go down, and a disaster for Dalmon Kia. T1 reads him like a book and wins this early game.
Could have just backed off and taken his blue buff and taken a 3-buff start and been very happy with the lead he had while they already had bottom prio. This draft is better from ahead, but you're the side that has the LeBlanc, you're the side that has the Renekton, you know, that's going to naturally start to win out against this Gnar in the lane. They tried to force this so hard, and 2 kills over to the Kalista on Damwon's play is just a disaster.
E esse meta aqui, que é um pouco mais pra trás aqui da época, entendeu? É um meta que o Timo mais gosta. Por isso que ele tá forte hoje. Quer dizer, a outra partida eles estavam jogando no meta atual, que é, né, Scaling AD Carry e Scaling Mid também. Enchanter Support, Top Jungle Tanks. Esse é o meta mais forte.
And I get the idea, you know, you had a lead from T1's,
mostrado, né?
You know, level 1
esse é o
not
meta
going the way they wanted it to,
antes desse que a gente tá agora.
This is just
meta
really aggressive. With the ward here, Carrier
forte.
Instantly managed, tosses him, and then Duckdom tanks turret shots here
né? No
on the
geral,
dive.
time mais,
you know, that's
early,
the end of it. Like, there's nothing else to
explain
here.
Ainda joga pouco
it was a call that was made, and Kellen will lose his flash as well.
Yeah.
The damage is high at this stage,
obviously
on the Amumu, or rather on the Draven, but
pouco skinny, mas ainda assim, no geral, mais engage, mais
smiling in game number 1. And
não que skills era jogado na época, mas
Azir forte,
que são tipos que podem pular, mais tipos que são escape também. E Ari também, que é mais um desses aí. Ari não é tão scaling, mas ainda ainda dá pra dizer que é scaling. E engage bom. Tipo, acompanha a brincadeira, sabe? Ela vai pra cima, assim. No caso do Azir, e o Cork, no caso do Azir, engage, o Cork e o Yari, eles acompanham o engage
does have a small experience lead here too, so it's not all for naught, and he will still be able to control this lane. But the unfortunate truth
agora já tá even, já beleza, interessante.
T1 have such a massive amount of gold on this Kalista now that the Draven won't be able to keep up in these mid-game fights, and that's kind of the tipping point for both these teams is who wins those first few objective fights, the first Drake fight, or if there isn't one, you know, who gets the Drake and who gets the Herald. You can see it's a 4-2 right now. Guma 3 of those wins on this Draven.
Distortion gonna miss, but the teams will hit as trying to steal a poppy, but that's not going to land. Just kind of just dash through as Canyon is on the follow here. Will flash as well, but Owner is right nearby. Can Faker live? The King Slayer at the last moment, but the flash in from Showmaker will secure the kill. As now you've got Bertol coming in from the top lane, actually, and now Owner's in a bit of trouble. Trying to get this kill onto a Poppy, not going to happen at low health, and DK were able to pull off 2 kills here for Showmaker.
Yeah, Owner was, I don't think, even really very close to level 6. You see Canyon's only halfway through his experience right now on that regard. If he had 6, of course, he could turn this around very well. I thought it was a cool attempt, but he ends up getting trapped there as Damwon Kira ready to pull the trigger. And Damwon, now 2 kills on one of their carries here. The LeBlanc getting very far ahead of the Silas here. Faker gets caught out. And now this game gets a lot more interesting. So we have 2 strong points for these 2 teams. So I think the Callista are going to look a little bit better at this stage for those first few objectives. But LeBlanc getting sped up quite significantly towards her later parts of this game. And gets Luden has a lot of extra poke potential here, setting up fights. And just like that, you know, the game can turn on a nice edge. Damwon take a slight gold lead here.
Yeah, it means that the LeBlanc hits a 1-item power spike extremely early on, and I think it's going to be in the hands of Showmaker to really try to make this early game theirs.
Canyon's charge there stops him from using the ult against him, as Faker has obviously level 6 advantage. Owner comes over and the Kingslayer fills him up. But it's a flash from Showmaker to secure the kill as Owner continues to go back in here and gets chained and knocked into the wall. Like, this was not the fight Owner was looking for, unfortunately. Very optimistic, especially considering that Zeus did not come down. Owner was there. If he did, it would have been even worse, I think. But kind of an odd choice by Owner to decide to not walk away from that loss and try to turn it around.
You know, it was definitely a very close play. A little bit of a risky one there. But either way, big rotation now up to the first Rift Herald, which has been the name of the game here for these 2 teams. We had a huge fight break out in game number 1. Take a look at the vision control right now for T1. He is insanely in the lead for them.
Owner has 6 now, and he is unseen on a control ward. They all committed to control ward buys here to make sure they could spring traps, but Damwon playing this very patiently, clearing out the bottom side of the vision. Now Faker's isolated a little bit.
Keria looking to come in. He's going to find Duckdom looking for that big mummy trap as he will force the cleanse and the flash out of Duckdom, but a huge whirling death from behind is going to secure a kill for him. As now fighting front to back, though, Guma pretty fed, looking for that damage. Faker will be able to pick up the kill, and the chase is still on. This team can chase so easily with this comp as Flash comes in. Looking for Duckdom, who is flashless, but did you go too far? The answer looks to be yes, as Showmaker with move up is looking to get in there. Faker still trying to zone for his team, and will take down Duckdom with a huge coup, still alive, and even zones away Showmaker, who's trying to scout here with his clone, but will not be able to follow up.
Yeah, not going to be able to get close enough to Faker to take him out. Canyon does have Hex Flash, but no regular Flash isn't going to be chasing him down either. Birdall teleports mid, and the Herald was not taken in all of this, so looking to actually have a bit of a teleport war here of attrition as we see this wave shoved through from Birdall so they can actually get onto this one. Canyon does not back, he's super low, and might have to smite here early. I think Birdall should be able to pull the aggro away from him, looks like he will be fine. But still, T1, you have to be aware of the fact that they can rotate into this choke point. They don't have control vision there, but Kellen set up. They will take this one away. Very close fight there, but I think the Callista lead actually being so huge for T1.
Mas eu acho que o Brown não tava disponível pra, tipo, na hora pra pegar, sabe? Até você poder usar o ult do Brown, tipo, até você poder usar o ult do Brown pra roubar o Brown.
Was so forced, I think, based on the angle that the Cyclone was set up for, and the damage is real here. Like, they don't get the combo they were looking for with the Curse of the Sad Mummy, but they still just have so much raw damage.
Mas aí ele saiu vivo por 10 de vida, mas também o slow kill
don't really have a mid lane that can do that same sort of damage output long term.
Então, olha o que posição do Canyon, aí o Tengu mais foi pra cima.
A little bit too far here. Damwon Kia will trade back some kills and grab the Rift Herald. Very close fight, however.
Ele podia ter jogado ao contrário aqui, ó.
E,
W. Eu jogo um E mais... O E dele foi um pouco curtinho. Não curto, mas tinha como ser mais pra frente. Se ele joga mais pra cá, ó. Aí ele podia ter dado o W no Duckdom pra garantir a corrente. E depois ele dá o... Ele dá o W e garante a corrente e depois dá o ult. Mas tudo bem. Matou.
Despite the engagement,
jogado melhor, mas não mudou nada. Não muda nada.
Kill, as this
velho.
game is going a
Tô perdendo fight aqui, cara. Pera aí.
So still a very close fight. Pick for them. Health bars there at the end to secure Herald, which will
drive.
So still a very close game at this stage.
Yeah. Although we're looking to get on top of a bomb here. Kellen can't have anything, so he looks to Ren and oh, he has a stopwatch. Missed that one, might be able to save him as Guma is going to pull the Ren, and actually it's Keria who is taken out. That's another kill, as this game is going a little bit off the rails, as Guma now on the run, as this Callista flash on in from Canyon with the slow, should be able to select that kill.
Tem um composition
and the bird
Não aconteceu nada. Nice. Só
dominus, but he wins out in the exchange, and we'll be able to push. Still not taken. We're
vou voltar pouquinho
defensively
canal, só pra...
late for a Drake, but Damwon should now have enough control over the map to do said Drake, as they have vision control on both top and bottom of it, and Dogdom is going to have this extra push.
Se você banir Yumi,
and they did not see the Gnar backing.
Se você não banir Yumi e pegar Renekton, então você baniu Yumi praticamente.
So still a lot of considerations here on the map for Damwon Kia. They can't just start this up because it's very tanky now. Birdo will need to be here if they want to take a 5v5, but they had so much control and they really didn't use it here. This is the kind of stuff we were criticizing Damwon for against KT.
Ele ponto dele fez, não é tão forte late, mas encaixa late.
Dá pra encaixar late, trying to burst that one down so they don't even have
melhor você ter um time que encaixa,
vision control taken
ter
by Damwon.
Melhor. Eu acho que é isso.
Very scary, as you mentioned, on both sides. You can pull the trigger if you want to.
So for
T1 without vision,
chato de fazer,
we can't really enter that river right now.
Porque
without
se eu
which
fizesse
saves
tão
his
pau,
to build up at this point in time.
Pô,
The Rift Herald will go in full money here for Canyon, as the LeBlanc will not be further boosted.
Yeah, Damwon still just trying to get a little bit more vision here instead of actually starting to break off, despite the damage they have in this composition.
É muito impactante, mas tem
shield bow's been done for a while here for Dogdom, and he's Raven, has a lot of stats,
se tem
does
como,
a lot of
obviamente,
single
tem
target
como
damage.
você,
Just wants
se
to
tiver como
continue to build some more
você
stacks
pegar
over here,
que
sitting on
countera
61. He pushes
dos
this through,
chips que você quer banir.
Damwon are just saying, I don't want to start a fight first
que-
because your
que-
comp is also good at skirmishing, and if we use any cooldowns or lose any health on the Drake, that might just do us in. Even if we have this immense amount of vision control around that part of the map.
Time bom.
You're joking about the Corki Azir handshake. This is like the Draven Kalista sword clash, you know, like this, both of these teams want to fight all the time, and fights like this where looks like you have the jump on a support, but he has stopwatch, and then you're like, oh man, Damwon Kia also have a ton of damage. Watch this Amumu just disappear. It's crazy how much damage the Draven has. You have to respect that. The stopwatch buys just enough time for him to get there. You can see just how variable these fights are. The volatility of these two drafts in the clash is so insanely high, and that's why this game is so high kill so early here. And why Damwon, despite having insane vision control, do not start up that first Mountain Drake, which is now at 15 minutes, still untaken.
It looks like Carry is clearing vision. I've got my eye on that objective now. Very curious to see when that one is going to go down. The Amumu at this point obviously cannot solo it, so that's not going to happen. The top lane looks like Birtle taking more and more aggressive trades, which means that, you know, he has been able to gather
esse
himself
jogo aqui tá bem encaminhado, por incrível que
victory
pareça,
here,
eu acho que tá
which is pretty
encaminhado pra
common
T1 aqui.
for the Renekton, as now
Pera,
T1 setting
mentira.
up for the Drake. Looks like they do want to make a potential
Porque
try
se
at
desse
it.
não tem champ bom aqui.
Maybe they'll just clear vision and back away again.
Embora também a DK também não tenha muito champ
what it
bom,
looks like.
mas
This Renekton pick doesn't have first item just yet. Still having some trouble putting the pressure onto Zeus' Gnar. We haven't really mentioned it.
Silas versus LeBlanc.
The Gnar pick, we liked it in the draft,
Eu acho
but
que é melhor pra
it is important to note that it has
mas
fallen off
eles
massively,
têm
but it is also Zeus' Gnar. And only players like Zeus, I think, would be confident enough to pull this one out into a Renekton. He's laning super well.
Não é tão
Ooh, nice
forte.
Everfrost as the trade heavily taken by Faker, or was it a bait all along? The Poppy
Você é
alone
louco, mano.
can't really
Essa
force
matchup é
that
muito injusta,
further
gente.
trade. Stopwatch available here for Faker as well.
Muito injusto.
And yeah, you know, in the draft, it does feel like
O cara tá
T1 are
2-0-2,
playing a
mas não
little bit
consegue
of
fazer nada. Ele
past
nem deu dano
12-10
no
or
fake direito,
12-11,
mano.
you know, the Silas Gnar coming back out. It's
Então,
pretty interesting to see.
a Drake é muito mais forte, mano, que
On his Gnar. I mean, able to do stuff like this. He nearly was able to get that last auto.
Quase tem que queimar o ult do
Stomach
Quase
here
queimou
are just
do
gonna
Renekton.
finally collect this Drake.
So after pushing Canyon back, they knew they had jungle control topside there. Zeus has the range advantage, wants to build up his Gnar bar, and they look for a gank onto the Renekton, but the second they pull the trigger topside, Damwon Kia spring onto the Drake bottom side, so Damwon reading the map very well here. Had so much vision control still of this bottom objective. Now trying to rush over here and deny.
Is still available, so that's an Gnar gone, and this is getting pretty low. Canyon in smite range, and it goes to Canyon as well. The fight here looking to be taken, but the bandage is going to miss from Carrier. They're still trying to get on top of this Renekton as the dominance taken here by Faker, and he will survive for quite a long period of time as in goes Showmaker. He's going to collect that one very sneakily on the backside of that fight.
Dom's getting a turret.
Yeah. So that's a full turret for him as Showmaker is going to be so slippery here. So still this game very much
Não
on a nice
gostei
second.
agora.
It really is.
Porque
Tamonkia walk away with the eye
Não do Rabbit Patch,
and
mas
a turret, but T1 getting the
teve
kill.
patch aí que...
Still walking away with a
Patch,
victory
sei,
here in
mas-
terms of
Não,
getting
não
that
foi
extra
Rabbit
gold
Patch,
from the
não.
kill, but
Ou
what
foi?
it means
Ah,
on the
não
map
sei.
for
Mas
Damonkia
teve
who already
patch
have
aí
a
que
lead
os
in
drags,
Drake.
e
I think
o
they
segundo
definitely
Arauto
went out
ficou
in this
muito,
exchange, and
muito
had
brabo,
Duckton been there, I think there's a real world where they crushed that fight, but he was already kind of halfway committed
drags também.
to taking down turrets, so he decides to
Aí eu
stay
não
for
lembro
that.
se o
Notice how late he
Patches
is
foi
to this fight.
outro
Doesn't have
patch
teleport like
separado.
Faker does, so Faker can actually join into
Acho
this
que foi
fight
patch
right away.
separado. Foi
By the
patch
time
separado, foi
Duckton
patch
gets there,
da
he's like
Severe, né?
probably too late, so decides
Isso,
to
foi
back
patch
away.
da
As soon as the fight goes south,
Tá,
Damonkia tries to retreat. He instantly
KDK
makes the
pegou
call
o
to push mid.
drag.
You can see that there on the minimap with Birdall. Yeah, he's chain CC'd. Damonkia want to maybe turn this one around, but without their Draven,
Aí
they
esse
cannot make it happen.
ali
And T1 would have just retreated topside if he had rotated over. So the eye, we'll see where that ends up getting dropped.
Não,
It was picked up
Tipo
by
Herald eu não
LeBlanc,
gosto.
so she'll get some value out of a
Que aqui o
turret if she
ADK pegou
does
drag
get
também.
it down.
Mas o jogo tá
Do,
bem
of
devagar,
course,
ó. A primeira
have
drag
played
só
on.
saiu há 3 minutos.
Just
Foi
throw a
ao
bot, and that's
15º.
going to be two turrets
Minuto
taken
15,
already by the
Mas
side of
eu ia te falar.
Dalmonkia. That's a huge
Menos
amount of
formal.
map control, and in games that are this
Minuto
close,
15, cara.
it's
Tá
so
bem devagar esse
fantastic
jogo
to
aqui.
get big vision leads
Isso é
like
bom pra
that
DK
early
também,
on.
porque
They zoned Faker out as well from these
LeBlanc
minions. He
não é
couldn't
ruim
come
de
up
jogar,
down here and get any of that
tipo,
stuff. They almost
late
stopped his
game,
back
né?
too, and this might just be an extra
Principalmente
charge.
quando
Look
os
at the
caras também
defensive
não são
setup they
full
have
late, né? Não
on the
são
bottom
poucos
side of
que
the
fazer.
jungle here. There's no way for T1 to come over
a
here
LeBlanc
easily
joga
and
bem
contest
aqui,
without really forcing,
E...
which means that
não
Draven
que
gets
o
free mid
Silas
push,
joga bem
even if they
também,
take
melhor
this
que a
Herald
LeBlanc,
out.
na minha opinião.
Which they do.
Mas a LeBlanc
But
ainda joga
Duckton gets
bem.
a little bit more
Só que
control
eles
here,
têm
and
perigo,
T1 just
cara.
barely
Olha,
hold this off
eu já
without
dei
any
2
losses.
itens já de crit, eu tenho um Gumesh
Minus
também
the
tem
turret
2
itself, like past the first turret,
No
just
X1
barely
sincero, eu tenho um Gumesh que ganha, eu acho.
Top lane still
Acho,
being
né?
defended
Eu
by
também não
Birdall.
sei.
He has not
Mas...
let go of that one just yet. The
Mais pra
CS
frente,
numbers
mano.
more
Foi do Ye.
even at
Ah,
this point
cara,
in
isso é um-
time. Zeus has been more and more annoying after
Aconteceu uma
completing his
dediff aqui, mano.
Trinity
De
Force
pique, né?
already.
De jogador, né? De pique.
He does have a nice, about 1,000 gold in the lead
E é
for
triste,
himself.
né,
Really,
cara?
a big chunk
Aí
of
meio
Dalmonkia's
triste,
gold lead was in the
mas-
jungle, where we did see
Vamos ver o que vai
Canyon
acontecer aqui.
about
Eu acho que a
almost
T1
like
não vai ganhar esse
2,000
jogo.
gold ahead
Mas, mano.
of his opponent in Owner.
So let's talk about how these two team comps are gonna collapse into each other later on in the
Sure,
game. Like
exactly.
we're already 20 minutes in. It feels like we're trapped in early game because of the amount of skirmishing we've had and stuff because of these two comps. So we haven't really seen a straight up 5v5 fight. They've been crazy fights for early objectives, or just fights, of course, around skirmishes on top side or bottom side, ganks gone wrong, etc. What both of these comps have are a lot of damage with very low range. Obviously, LeBlanc is the exception to the rule here because she can do damage with her Ludens and can do damage from far away and try to assassinate somebody. But that's going to rely on a little bit of vision control for Dalmonkia, which they've been good about on objectives. Haven't been able to get deep wards because this game is so close. But then also what the fights will happen with these fights besides the low range damage is how that is set up via CC. And I think T1 have the far superior set of that between the Amumu ult, Cyclone, Gnar, and Silas, who has Everfrost. So in terms of how everything has happened so far, we're still sitting at only a 400 lead for Damwon, which is now no longer the case with that turret going down bottom side. It's very even, like we're basically dead even in terms of gold. I think T1's comp is much easier to pull off in the later parts of the game. And we'll see how these fights do end up looking because Dalmonkia kind of coasting through this with a nice LeBlanc 2-0-2. Draven getting that cash out early.
Tem muito dano.
Has a lot of gold himself, picked up a collector early.
Range curto.
But will they be able to team fight in a straight up 5v5 when T1 have so many options for CC is the real question. I think Showmaker is going to have to be the difference maker. He's going to have to be the one who threatens the backline and has to maybe threaten the Kalista once or twice, or try to bring the Gnar low while he's trying to set up for his Gnar bars. Stuff like that is what Dalmonkia need in terms of X Factor here, because their CC in terms of Wombo and straight up fights, not as good as what T1 have to offer. Their single target is insane.
praticamente.
I
Quem
have a lot of
muito
my
CC dos
faith
caras,
in
tipo CC Chain,
Showmaker, who's nearing this
ganha.
Shadowflame
Mas
already,
CC
right?
Chain
Like,
ADC
he's
ganha.
already doing his job
E no
very
caso,
nicely, just hopping
a
in,
execução do T1 é muito mais
poking damage.
fácil.
Now, Duckdom can't
Tem
get
Silas
caught like this,
Everfrost,
as
é outro
Faker is
brabo.
looking to
Caralho,
just
Faker
take
jogou
him
muito.
down. Duckdom will
Eles
blast
têm
away.
Gnar,
but
eles
Kellen
têm
looks to bite the dust.
Wukong, eles têm
Zingo
tudo,
saves
mano.
as well.
Engage é
Looking
muito
for
fácil pra
the
eles.
kill onto the
E aí,
80
tá
carry,
vendo,
and he
ó.
will be able to pick
Levaram
it up
top
as
dano.
another crazy
que morreu
skirmish
isso?
breaks out here. Showmaker
Caraca,
picks up a
moeda,
kill
fio.
onto the
Esquece.
Gnar who dove. Also, Canyon
Nossa,
goes
acho que
in
ele
and
tinha
takes
stock
out
watch
the
se pá, mas
Gnar.
ele não
So
usou.
turns once again into a bit of an even trade, but T1 with the slight victory.
T1 with the slight advantage, and that might be enough to grab the second Drake of the game here. Showmaker looking for some poke. Chains won't hit. It's still a very difficult fight to take here against T1 because they have a Kalista. She's going to be doing massive damage here. 3v2. Canyon just looking for a steal and walk away.
Might be able to, as nope, it's going to be Kalista. With the Rend pull at the end of the day, as now on the chase here, doesn't look like Uma will continue after getting Chilling smited.
And we colloquially call that the second smite here in League of Legends because of how much damage it does when you pull that out. And it was a tough steal attempt there from Canyon, but really at no risk to him, so might as well go for it. As this is just the CC I was talking about for T1 at work here. Kellen will go down. Zeus has an amazing set of plays here, dive CC setups to try to kill Duck Down burst damage. They also do collapse here with Birdall on Faker, trade one more kill back there. But T1 trade up, they grab the Drake. And again, this is still not a 5v5.
Nope.
Só quero ver se ele tinha zonas. Ele já tinha zonas, ó. Tá vendo? Ele não usou porque ele não sabia que ele ia tomar tudo de dano. E dá muita diferença ele das zonas ali, cara. Muita diferença.
Already doing his job very well.
Ó, tem alguma
Can't be giving these Drakes over to T1 if you can help it.
And this has got to stop happening for Duck. He's just gonna die. Like, this is just him getting picked so many times. He's died 4 times. And that's just a free Baron now for T1. I mean, it's an excellent pick once again. T1 are finding every single angle.
Yeah, and it's a flash Gnar. From far away you think you're safe, you're not safe. Not against this composition.
There's just too many threats, as you were saying. There's just too many ways to get on top of Damwon. And T1 are playing this out beautifully. Canyon trying to get close, but he just gets a moo-mooed in the face. And that will be 2-1 securing the Baron.
So that's another objective going down after a mid-tussle goes up in T1's favor. And it's kind of funny considering that the turret that's still up for Damwon in the mid lane, I think is why they have felt safe to farm like this. But the turret has actually kept the wave in such a space where T1 could threaten more.
A little bit of a play here as the Braum is knocked away, and T1 are turning this one around. Here's Cyclone onto the both of them on the second application, as that is going to be enough. Zeus is going deep now, and he is so tanky with all this gold and the Baron buff. This game was so close, and now it is so one-sided. T1 are just pushing down the mid lane and taking lives.
They have Baron still, and they're going to push even further here, I think. Maybe take out the inhibitor. I mean, we're 25 minutes into the game. It doesn't feel like it because it feels like it's just been a non-stop early game. We could never get out of mid. T1 are like, I think we might be able to get even more here.
Showmaker's like, man, what do I gotta do? Like, like 3-0-3 on the LeBlanc, just not able to do enough. Tries to get a double distortion, immediately goes into the stopwatch, and that might be his demise, actually. As he does get the 1 kill, and T1 are just continuing. As it is a little bit risky, but at the end of the day, with the Baron buff, it should just be enough. They're going to target down this Nexus and end again in 25 minutes. T1.
Quem que é MVP aqui?
They weren't winning, and then all of a
Peraí. Acho que é o Kerry, né? Ou o Kerry é o Faker.
All of a sudden, they were dominating.
É isso, guys.
And it's right as we were talking about the CC and